Hey guys, it's Lola here and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if it's your very first time watching a video of mine. So today we're going to do something a little bit different, still in line with the kind of adulting theme and following on from the videos that I've been doing about property and saving, etc. So obviously we've spoken about saving, and saving is important, of course, especially if you're looking at buying property. You're going to have to put down a sizable deposit in order to do so, so have to accumulate that money, and most people will do that by the saving. But what is equally important, if not more important, is earning, right? So the more money you earn, the more money you can save on a monthly basis. And the more money you earn, the more money the bank is likely to lend you, because it's going to be a multiple. So if you earn £40,000, the bank will lend you between 4 and 5 times that, so between 160 and £200,000. But if you earn £50,000, then the bank is going to lend you between 200 and £250,000. So that's very important, especially for people living in London, because things are just so expensive, especially if you're trying to buy a property. So we want to make sure that the bank is going to lend us enough money to be able to buy the properties that we want. It's a bit harder when you earn less money. So again, if you're earning £30,000, then you're kind of limited to between 120 and 150. And if you're trying to buy a property by yourself, and especially in London, it can get quite difficult to do so. And so I wanted to talk about how to make more money, right? How to earn more money. And I think I'm not going to do it in some crazy pyramid scheme. This is how you have 26 side hustles and bring your friends in. And I don't have any interest in that sort of thing. But what I can tell you is I work in HR. So I think I've mentioned it before. I work in HR and I know quite a bit about recruitment. And so I'm going to focus on how to get more money at work in that way, because that's my, I guess, area of expertise. And most people have kind of a 9-to-5 job, yeah, or a job, maybe not 9 to 5, but a job of a sort. And so the most basic ways in which you can get more money for most people is getting a pay rise, a promotion, or a new job, right? And today I want to talk about the third one. And one of the key things that you're going to need to get a new job is a CV. And I spend a lot of time kind of writing, rewriting, feeding back on CVs for my friends and family in my spare time. I'm a bit of a loser and I really enjoy doing this sort of thing. And I have the best friends, I've told you as well, and my family, they're just the best, right? So I think they're incredibly talented people and I know they have so much to offer. But what always ends up happening is that they're like, okay, Lola, I'm looking for a new job, please can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And I know what they do. They're my friends, right? Maybe I don't know in an incredible amount of detail, but on the balance of probability, they're awesome people and they have loads of skills. Then they show me their CV and it's like, meh. I'm like, what am I looking at here? It doesn't say anything. It's like a shopping list of what you do at work. I do this. My daily duties include this. It doesn't tell me who you are. It doesn't tell me what your key skills are. It doesn't tell me any of the information that I'm going to want to know as an employer or a recruiter in order to put you forward for this job. It doesn't tell me any of that. And so I'm going to go through kind of how you should write your CV, the basics, how you should structure it, how you should format it, also how you should speak about the role that you do, what key information people are going to want to know, and what kind of things you can do to make sure that people are incentivized to read further down your CV. Because even I've personally opened CVs as when I'm recruiting for roles within my team or helping other people to recruit for roles, and I'm looking at the CV and I'm on the first third of it and I'm just like, I can't. It's poorly formatted. The summary at the top is just not telling me anything about the person. They've used all these buzzwords which are just making me itch. Like, I just don't like it. And so from that kind of lens and that experience, I thought I would share with you kind of how to write a good CV and what you should put in it. And so if you're interested in hearing about that, stick around and we'll go through it now. So let's start by talking about the structure and the format of the CV. So the most basic things. So in terms of format of the CV, I'm going to link some templates below. For me, less is more. You don't need to do any crazy things with any crazy colors. You don't need to have one of those CVs which has some of the information on the left-hand side and then boxes and a scale in terms of how proficient you are in certain things. In certain creative industries, they like that sort of thing, right? You can put a bit more of a stamp on your CV by making it look a bit more jazzy, right? But for most people, less is more. Use a clear, basic format to your CV, something that's formatted well. But all the titles are formatted uniformly, and all the subtitles are also formatted in the same way that it's very clear to understand which section of your CV that you're looking at. I have written a demo CV, like a dummy CV for an HR professional, because obviously I work in HR and it was the easiest thing to do. But I will put that up on the screen now, and I'll also link it below. I'll stick it on my OneDrive or something, and also put in those links for some kind of CV template. You can use the one that I'll stick it up on Word, so you can use the one that I've put up, or you can use any of the ones that I'm going to link. I think any of those are fine. In terms of colours, black, grey, maybe blue, nothing else. There should be no orange, no red, no greens, no purple. It's just not necessary. It's really not necessary. So try to avoid those sorts of things unless you are going for kind of a creative job. If you're a designer or something like that, then you do what you want. That's your area of expertise, not mine. But for the most part, less is more. In terms of how you structure your CV, these are the sections that you want to have in your CV and the order in which I think you should do them. So at the top, you want your personal details. So your name, your contact details, all that jazz. And then after that, you want a personal summary. I'll come back to exactly what should be in that personal summary. After the personal summary, you want to write a list of your key skills, right? And I'll come back to that as well. Then you go through work experience, which will be the bulk of your CV. That's where you go through in detail kind of what you did in each role, how long you stayed there, what your title was, etc. Right? And then after that, you should have education and qualifications, right? And after that, if you would like to, you can include other positions of responsibility. So to the extent that you've done volunteer work or other things which maybe speak to your character or your interest, you can put those in. And then after that, you can put in hobbies and interests. So that's where you kind of write, you know, the additional things that you like to do, which again may speak to a little bit about who you are as a person. But that is very much an optional section. So the very first section is the personal details section. I won't spend too much time on it because mostly it's self-explanatory, but there are some things that people often include in this section that they shouldn't do, and some things that they could add to the section that they don't, right? So of course, the very first thing that you want to write in the personal details section is your name. Jane Doe, yeah? Write your name. Joe Bloggs, William Hill, whatever your name is, put it there. You may also choose to include a professional title. A lot of people don't do this, and you don't have to, but it can help to focus the person's mind when they open your CV straight away. So you could be Jane Doe, HR professional, or you could be Joe Bloggs, IT architect, or you could be William Hill, digital marketer. So as soon as they open your CV, they know what you're about, right? Then your contact details. You want to add your mobile number and your email address. Won't spend too much time labouring the point, but your email address should be professional. joe.bloggs@gmail.com or whatever, or something along those lines. If it has to have a number in it, that's fine. But if your email address is not based on your name, I tell you right now, it's not the right email address. Go and create another one. Then after that, you want to write your location. You don't need to write your full address. There's no reason for you to write your full address. So location, London. Location, South London. Location, West London. Location, Greater Manchester. Something like that. You don't need to write your full address in there. It's not necessary, and I personally don't want to have my address floating around to just random people's inboxes. So location, London, that is good enough. And what you also may want to include, especially if you're submitting your CV digitally, which most times you do, you email it to somebody, even if it's in a PDF or a Word document, you can include a hyperlink to your LinkedIn profile. That's what I would do. So to the extent that you're on LinkedIn and you're active using your LinkedIn, then put LinkedIn and then just hyperlink that. They'll see that it's got a hyperlink, it'll be blue, and then when they click on it, it'll take you to your LinkedIn profile. And that is, for me, a really good thing to do if you're active on LinkedIn and you have a well-presented LinkedIn profile, which may, again, tell them a little bit more about you, see who you have in common in terms of connection, see the kind of things that you engage with socially on LinkedIn, the kind of posts that you post, if you've written any articles which they may find interesting, etc. If you're not really using LinkedIn and your LinkedIn is going to be more of a detriment than it is going to be a help to you getting a job, then don't include it. But actually, I would tell you that in terms of looking for a job, your LinkedIn should always be up to date. Fine. So that's the personal details section. That's what you should include. What you shouldn't include is the following, and people often include it. No photo, right? In the UK, you don't need to put a photo on your CV. Unless you're being a model or you're going for that sort of job, presenter or something, there's no reason for you to put your photo. Don't put your photo. Do not include your nationality. Do not include your date of birth. Do not include your marital status. It's irrelevant. This is a job, not a dating site. Sometimes people do put them in. No idea why. It's a really, really poor decision to make, but leave them out. So the next section is the personal summary, and I think this is the bit that people struggle with the most. No one ever knows what to write in the personal summary. People worry that they'll sound arrogant, and for me, it's not even something that you should be considering, because people want to sit here. This is super humble. This is arrogant. Yeah, there's all this space in the middle. You need to use some of this space to tell people what you can do and why you're great, right? And you're looking for a job. Now is not the time to be humble, my friend. You need to tell people what you can do. And so if you're worried about that, write it in a way that you don't think sounds arrogant, but you also feel comfortable that you have sold yourself. And then hand it to your friend and say to your friend, please can you read this, tell me how I sound. They might say, mate, you sound like a knob. Or they might say, no, you sound great, like I'd give you a job. So don't be too worried about that. You need to sell yourself. People are always so worried about, making sure they sound humble. Why? I don't know, to be honest. I understand not wanting to sound arrogant, but there's no reason for you to kind of undersell yourself or be worried about sounding like, you're actually good, because that's what you want, because you are good, right? In terms of how long the personal summary should be, we're looking at 7 to 8 lines, like one paragraph. Nothing too heavy, anything longer than that. Like, we don't need your full biography. We don't need to know that you were born on a summer's day in Accra. Like, we don't need that information. So what should go into the personal summary? The personal summary should start with, a one-sentence summary of who you are. Just enough to give them a kind of foundation level that we're going to build on throughout the CV, right? So something like, I am an ambitious IT architect specializing in DevOps for the financial services market. Whether you know what DevOps is or not, yeah, you already know what that person does, what they specialize in, who they are, yeah? Or I am a commercially focused HR professional with an interest in startups and scale-ups. Again, I know who you are now. I know it frames your CV. I know what I'm going to be reading going forward. What doesn't tell me who you are is I am a hardworking team player who always strives to achieve the team goals. Like, but what do you do? Like, I don't know what you do yet. So that is already not effective, because the person is now like trying to figure out like who you are. You don't want to make it hard for the person that's reading your CV. So make sure it's snappy, it's relevant, it tells people exactly what you do. If you read that first sentence and I don't know what you do or what I'm going to read going forward, then the sentence is not right. So that's how it should start. You should then go on to say a bit about what you do at the moment, right, or what you have done. So I currently work as this, where I do this, which adds value in this way. Yeah, and that can be like 2 or 3 lines. And I'll put an example, as I said, in the demo CV so you can see how that works. That I currently do is not just a shopping list. It's not, oh, I do this on a daily basis, I do this on a daily basis. It has to be kind of a summary of what you do. So I partner with senior management to implement people policies in order to help the business meet its overall objectives. I do this by working across generalist HR, pay and reward, learning and development, and such and such. That tells me what you do and also how you add value to the business. If it's not telling us how you add value and it's just your shopping list of things that you do, then you're going to have to change that so that, the person reading it can easily see how you add value. If you're a web developer, you're not just developing, you're working with the business to have a visually appealing website which has good kind of customer experience and helps to improve engagement with your clients. Like, these are the things that you need to be making sure that, like, you want to kind of spoon feed the person that's reading your CV. You want them to say, okay, not just what you want to tell them, not just what you do, but how it adds value. The person might be able to kind of do the dot to dot and get to the end point of how you add value, but why? You should be telling them from the beginning, framing the CV, right? So before we get to the work experience, we want them to kind of know who you are and give them the context for the stuff below. So that's the first 2 bits: who you are, what you do, how you add value, and then the final bit for your personal summary should be what you're looking for going forward. So for instance, I'm currently seeking a role within a media company where I can study towards my ACCA and get some exposure to financial planning and analysis. right? That's important for two reasons. The first one, it makes sure that the jobs that are coming to you are relevant. So if you stick your CV on like job sites and stuff, the people that are reading through your CV, they'll send you those kind of jobs because they'll know that's what you're interested in. The second reason is when you're applying for jobs, if you have that sentence in, the people are like, hey, this person really wants to work here. We're a media company. This role has study support towards ACCA. They would get exposure to FP&A, financial planning and analysis. So this is the perfect role for them. It makes them feel like, oh, you really want this job. We are really what you're looking for, rather than you're just looking for anything. And of course, you can tailor that CV when it goes out to different people. So you can say, I really want a job in a media organization. I really want to work in professional services. I really want to work in oil and gas or whatever. So it just means that the person that's reading your CV is automatically going to think, hey, this person is a really great fit. This is the kind of organization they want to work in. And we want people that want to work here. So this is all great. So that's how you should be structuring your personal summary. A bit about who you are, what you do and how you add value, and what you're looking for going forward. That will give you your 6 to 8 lines, and that is all you need to do. You don't need to do anything more than that. It doesn't need to be any longer. That is enough information to kind of give the foundation of who you are, and then also add context to the stuff that they're going to read below. Anything more than that is really not necessary, and you want to make sure that it doesn't turn them off because it's so long, or it's not too short that it doesn't really give them any information. So the next section is key skills and experience. So this section is not a long section, it's bullet point only. It should be maybe 5 lines split over 2 or 3 columns so that you can get the maximum amount of kind of bullet pointed key skills and experience in there. Before you start this section, and definitely before you go further, and actually before you start writing your CV, you need to do some research. You need to go and look at the kind of jobs that you're going for and see what key skills and experience they want. Because you are a wonderful person and you have loads of experience, you have loads of key skills, but actually you don't need to list them all in there. You need to write the relevant ones. You need to write the ones that people are going to want to know about this job specifically. So you go and look for the job that you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for a job as an HR manager. You go and look at HR manager job descriptions, go on job boards, go on LinkedIn and search jobs for HR manager. And then you want to be thinking, okay, what key skills and experience are they looking for across all of these? And then those are the ones that you want to highlight in your key skills section. And as you're going through your work experience, you may have some other skills that are great for life, but they maybe not be as relevant for this job. And you don't want to waste time or space by speaking about those. So you want the person reading your CV to automatically be looking at the skills that they want. They're like, oh, I want someone who knows UK employment law. UK employment law, tick. I need someone that understands this program language or this particular software, tick, tick, tick. And that's what you want to do. So it can't just be, this is who I am, these are the great skills that I have. Those skills need to be specific to what you're applying for. So before you do anything, first spend some time, a good amount of time, going through these jobs, looking at the skills that they want and matching them to the skills that you have. And then those ones, you should put them in your CV in a bullet point format in the key skills and experience section, just like that. And it should not take you that long to write what the key skills are. So that should be a really simple section of your CV to do if you've done the relevant research in advance. So the next section of your CV is work experience. And work experience is so important. You don't necessarily have to have done the same job before, but you need to be able to evidence that you have the skills and experience required in order to do this role. So again, when you're doing your research, you need to know, okay, what are they looking for? What key skills do I need to draw out? What duties will evidence that I have these skills, key skills, and I want to make sure that I put those in. That's really relevant, especially for job changes. So people who are doing one job and want to go into a little bit of a career move or a job change, it's really important that you do that step more than anybody, because you're not going to be able to say, I've done this before, or I've done this at a lower level before. But you can say, I've done other things which have directly relevant transferable skills. So let's say you want to be an account manager, but you had previously been an HR advisor. Now you can say, I work closely with my stakeholders in order to achieve X. And actually, account manager is all about managing your stakeholders. So you want to be making sure that you're drawing out those key skills and experience, especially for changing job in any case. So when you're going to do your work experience section, the first thing I would advise everybody to do is to verbally share with someone what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? Because again, you read these CVs and they're like, these are the duties that I do. If you verbally express it to somebody, that person can then look at your CV and say, okay, would I have known that you do all those things from looking at your CV? Would I have known that your job was as complex as it is by looking at your CV? Would I have known that you have all the stakeholders and you have kind of all this responsibility from just looking at your shopping list of duties? And if the answer is no, you need to go back and refine that. You need to say, okay, for the role that I'm looking for, these are the key skills and experience, and the way I've written my duties, do they show that I have done that or that I can do that? And if the answer is no, again, we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to refine these. So practically, in terms of how you structure your work experience, it should, of course, have under the work experience section, you should have the company, you should have the dates that you did it and what your job title was. What I also think is good to do is write the industry or what kind of business it was. And depending on what kind of job you're doing, you might want to write how big the company was. Any other information which is relevant to your industry or how your job will be viewed, put it in there. And so I would always open with a little bit about the business if it's not clear. If you work at Facebook, maybe you don't have to write it because kind of everyone knows what Facebook does. So this company is in this industry and specializes in this. So company is a media agency working with fast-moving consumer goods or something like that. Just so people understand what it is. Or this is a fintech startup specializing in social lending to employees, or just something like that, which frames the roles and responsibilities that you have below. And again, if you're applying within a specific industry and you have, for instance, an interest in startups and scale-ups, and you've worked in startups and scale-ups before, then it's good to say this is a startup or this is a scale-up so that they know that from the beginning. So you write a little bit about the business and then you write a little bit about your role. I was a standalone HR manager supporting a client group of 150 people, and on a day-to-day basis, this is what I did. Yeah, and this is what I did everything that goes under that's the most important part of your CV. Actually, you want to make sure that when people are looking at what you've done before, they can easily and directly see how it relates to the job that you're applying for. If there is no correlation whatsoever, you're not going to get anywhere, because a lot of kind of hiring managers and recruiters, they will do tick, 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 tick. Have you done this? Or can you evidence that you have this? Do you have this skill? Can I evidence it there? If the answer is no, you're not going to get anywhere. So you need to make it really clear. And especially if you're a job changer, you need to make it even more explicit. So if they say we want someone with good attention to detail, on a daily basis, I did this, which required me to have good attention to detail. If you're not a job changer, you might not need to go into that level of detail, but you need to help them get there. You can't just be like, okay, this is my jobs and you do the maths and get to the X. No, you need to help them, right? So the first thing you do is the overall, this is who the business is, this is what my role was, and these are my duties. And when you're doing your duties, make sure you say it verbally to someone. Say, this is what I do, and ask them to ask you why you do that, what the benefit of that is, how that adds value. So you should be like, I do this. The person should ask you, why? Why do you do that? Oh, because if I don't do that, this is what happens. And they're like, oh, that's a really big responsibility, or why do you do this? I do it for this reason. Why? Oh, because if I do this well, we get more customers. Oh, okay, so you have a direct impact in how many customers we have and how that influences the business's bottom line and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the times we're doing our jobs, we don't even understand the impact we're doing because we're so insular. This is what I do, this is my part in the big cog, and we don't think about the bigger picture. But it's really important to think about the bigger picture and how what you do impacts directly the success of the business, because that's what recruiters and hiring managers are going to want to know and they're going to want to see. You want to do that for all your jobs in reverse chronological order. So the most recent ones first and the older ones last. You want to spend more time talking about the more recent stuff because it probably will be the most relevant, and less time talking about the stuff that you did in the past. In terms of the period you need to cover for your CV, it just depends on kind of how long you've been working. If you have been working only for 5 years, then you just put it all on. If you've been working for 20 years, then you might just want to go into detail on the last kind of 5 to 10 years and then just kind of list off the stuff that you were doing before that. You don't need to put every single thing on. And if there are bits of your work experience that aren't necessarily as relevant, you can put those below the relevant work experience. So it should be in reverse chronological order, but we haven't all had like this kind of like linear career path. So it might be a case that you were an accounts assistant for a part, and then you went to work at Tesco as a sales assistant because you needed a job. Then you got a job as a finance assistant. Then you got a job as an assistant finance manager or something like that. And actually, that job in Tesco is not necessarily very relevant. So you might just put it below all of your other work experience so that people know what you were doing in the time, but it's not necessarily contributing to what you do at the moment. So it should be in reverse chronological order, but to the extent that some of it isn't as relevant, you can just put it at the bottom. So the next section is education and qualifications, and this is both academic and professional education. So you want to write this in reverse chronological order again. So the most recent qualifications you did, so that will include professional qualifications. So if you studied to be a chartered accountant, that would go at the top, and then you would work back. So if at university you studied, I don't know, history, you would then say University of X, BA history, and then the grade that you got. For your A levels, you would say, okay, where you did your A levels, the A levels that you did, and the grade that you got. For GCSE, you would write the school that you went to, and then you don't need to go in so much detail. If you did 10 GCSEs, you don't need to list them all. You would say, went to this school, GCSE, 10 GCSEs, including maths and English at grade. Those are the grades that people care about. Maths and English. If you did science, you did history, you did French, that's all great, but actually at this point in life, probably doesn't really matter so much. A question I get a lot is about grades. So if you haven't been particularly academic and you're not necessarily comfortable to share your grades, or you don't think it reflects well on you for your degree and your A levels, you don't actually need to put the grade. So you could say, went to this sixth form and did A levels in this. You don't need to necessarily put the grades. And most employers will be like, oh, what grades did you get? The grades that you really should be putting on are maths and English. For at GCSE level, you should really put those on there. Again, for a university, you can say, I went to University of X and I studied this. You don't necessarily have to put the grade if you don't want to. Of course, if you have a first class or a 2-1 or a 2-2 or whatever, and you want to put that on there and you really want to show that, then you can. I've got my grade on my CV, but equally I've seen people that don't have the grades on their CVs and it hasn't biased them in that way. So just think about what you're comfortable to put on, what you're not, if you think it's going to work in your favour or not. But when it comes to maths and English, for a lot of jobs, it is a requirement that you have GCSE at this, or maths A level or whatever, something like that. So to the extent that it's a requirement, you have to put it on there and the grade. If not, then you can make a judgment call about that. And that's about it for education. You don't have to go into super detail about, the modules that you studied at university and blah, blah, blah. The people who may want to do this are people very early in their careers. So if you did a degree in marketing and you're looking for your very first job, you might want to say, these are the modules that I studied. So then they know actually you have, even though you haven't got the work experience to back it up yet, you do have an understanding of the concepts involved in digital marketing or blah, 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 blah. So for those people, right at the beginning of your career, you might want to go into a little bit more detail about what you studied and what you've learned from that and how it's directly relevant to the job that you're applying for. So after you've spoken about education and qualifications, you may want to add a section about other positions of responsibility. And this is for roles that you've had which are not formal employment but have maybe given you some employability skills, or speak to kind of what your interests are or who you are as a person. So you might have done some voluntary work, you might have been a student ambassador at university. All of these things would go in this section, and again, they help to kind of build a picture of who you are, or say, look, I don't have so much work experience formally, but I have done these things which have given me some really good skills that I will then be able to implement in the workplace. This is typically voluntary work, or you may have even done it through work. So it may be that you're volunteering at a charity, or you coach a kids football league on the weekend, or every year you help at an event which is aimed at getting women into STEM subjects or something like that. So not employment, but also very relevant. And then finally, if you really want to, you can add a section about your hobbies and interests. This is a very optional section, and for me, I think a lot of people use it. It doesn't add a tremendous amount of value. the things that you should be putting in here are things that speak a lot to your character, kind of say what you're interested in, how it links back to work, or something that you think is just really interesting and it could be a kind of conversation starter at your interview. A lot of people just say they like traveling. That's great. Liking traveling is cool. But actually, unless you're going to be doing a role where you travel, you're working with different cultures or stuff like that, it's actually not that relevant. And it's nice to know that you travel, but or that you support Man United. That's cool, but actually doesn't really add a tremendous amount to your CV. So I'm kind of indifferent about it. Add it in if you want, don't if you don't. So I'll give you an example of how I've used it in a way which is fairly successful and relevant in the past. So I was learning French. I went for a job where I'd be spending a lot of time in Paris and Brussels. And in my CV, I had written that I'm currently learning French and I'm trying to spend one weekend a month in a different part of France to practice my French. That is obviously very relevant because this is a role where I would have to spend a lot of time in France, and also the fact that I'm learning French is interesting. It's not yet a skill of mine. I can't put it on my CV as another language that I speak, but I could, it speaks to the fact that I'm willing to learn and that I may have a baseline level of French which would support me in that job, right? So that's the kind of thing that's relevant. Otherwise, I generally say to people, put it in if you want to, but it's no loss if you don't. So that's about it. That's how I would structure my CV, and those are the things that I would put in the CV. If you have any questions on the content of this video or your own personal CV, please comment below and I will endeavour to get back to you as soon as possible. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that wonderful stuff. I really do appreciate knowing that you guys are liking and engaging with the content, finding it useful, etc. Hit the bell, which should be down here somewhere, so you don't miss any posts that I make. And I think that's about it. All that's left for me to do is to say thank you very much for watching this video and wish you happy job hunting. I'll see you next time. Bye.